Over the years, Digimon as a franchise has explored a wide range of concepts, from the Digimon virtual pet to 2D platform fighters, open worlds, turn-based combat, and more. It was only a matter of time before they would create something as special as Digimon Survive. At its core, the game is a well-written visual novel and has received much praise in this regard. However, Digimon Survive's combat system is not held up in the same esteem. And I kind of get why. After all, the combat does feel a little unpolished. However, if you do put the time into learning the game's mechanics, it can actually be pretty fun and leaves a lot of room for creativity. That's why in this video, we're gonna talk about the 8 tips and tricks you can use to survive in Digimon Survive. Let's jump right into it. Use your abilities wisely. In Digimon Survive, evolving and talking can provide meaningful buffs. However, these powerful commands can be wasted if used at the wrong moment. Evolutions use a flat amount of SP per turn, the resource consumed by skills. Try not to squander your SP by evolving while enemies are not in range. Story characters can cheer on other story characters and grant buffs. For example, Minoru will allow Digimon to travel farther by providing a movement buff, while Takuma can raise all of a Digimon's stats. These buffs do not run out after a bit, so remember to keep this in mind. It's also important to remember that you can freely talk and evolve before you move. On another note, one can even attack an enemy within range and retreat safely. Don't forget about training items. While the tutorial briefly goes over how to equip items, it doesn't mention training items. These are important because they can provide permanent stat boosts to your units. For example, feeding a giant mushroom to your Digimon will give them additional health. Use training items on Digimon who will not fall off late into the game. Utilize the terrain. There are many effective ways to use the terrain. It goes without saying that one elevation unit above an opponent raises crit rate in battle, but you might be surprised to learn that 2 elevation units can prevent units from attacking particular tiles. Creatures in the surrounding squares will be unavailable to strike. As a result, you can move near a cliff to avoid attacks entirely. Enemies will be unable to attack you or need to take a specific pathway to do so, potentially giving your Digimon more options. Maps also have a lot of surrounding obstacles, such as large rocks and treasure chests. These objects can be used to deny a foe's options. Evolve Digimon with Enlightenment Slabs. It is advised that you use any available Enlightenment Slabs to improve your Digimon recruits as early as possible. As soon as slabs are unlocked, you can start evolving your new Digimon recruits into stronger versions of themselves, which is ideal for tackling tough bosses. Choosing the right partner is the tricky part, as not all Digimon are created equally. Ranking Digimon based on their performance late game will require a separate video. Consider synergy. It's often better to have at least 2 units together in a battle. With attack power buffs, team attacks, item use availability, and being able to physically cover weak sides, knowing this dynamic is integral to mastering the game's combat system. Additionally, bear in mind that a character's affinity or how much they like the player character impacts how their Digimon supports in battle. Details can be seen on the character's profile page. Use skill equipment. You will frequently come across equipable items during your adventure. Such items usually raise a Digimon's stats, but there are also existing items that can grant Digimon an additional move. These special moves can be found in the equipment menu. Naturally, there is a large opportunity cost in using skill equipment rather than improving your stats. That's why they're mainly used for providing a supportive Digimon extra utility. Other roles often prefer stat buffs, as they tend to make a larger impact in battle. Survival is key. Understanding action economy is essential to optimizing your gameplay in Digimon Survive. It's tempting to exploit this to your advantage as part of your offensive strategy, given the number of commands you can employ in a single turn. While offense is often the best defense, the reverse is also true in Digimon Survive, where enemies are predictable, forced to approach, and thus cut off much of the opportunity cost associated with defensive gameplay. As I'm sure you are aware, when a Digimon ends a turn, the Digimon assumes a defensive position and significantly reduces incoming damage until their next turn. Defending can be used to great effect by baiting your opponents into attacking a more robust Digimon. If the enemy team is wasting attacks on a defending Digimon, that leaves the rest of your team unscathed. The principle is to deal damage while taking less damage and as few resources as possible, even if this does inevitably drag out battles longer than they often need to be. Change the difficulty. If you're still struggling, you can always lower the difficulty. This is more of a last resort, but given that Digimon Survive is story-oriented, no one is going to judge you for being a scrub who has to lower the difficulty for a fighting chance. You can lower the difficulty before battle or after losing one. Digimon Survive's combat sure isn't perfect, and you can brute force much of it through grinding. However, I believe appreciating its intricacies is all part of the overall experience, an albeit necessary one if you're playing on hard difficulty. What do you guys think? Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is Airyhead, signing out.